Hi guys, welcome to Biology. Today we will be looking at the gas exchange in insects. So you need to be able to describe how single-celled organisms exchange gases, explain how insects balance the need to gas exchange with the need to conserve water, and explain how insects exchange gases. So in terms of the specification, we are just here, okay? So the tracheal system of an insect, and let's have a look. So this is the lovely insect. This is the structure of the insect that we will be looking at today. So we will be looking at the spiracles, we will be looking at the trachea, tracheoles, the extensions of the main tube trachea, and the spiracles, which will be on the outside of the insect to allow the gas exchange. Okay. So looking at the further pictures one more time, we've got spiracles right outside, which is here on the outer layers. We've got main tube trachea. Extensions of it are called tracheoles, and the ends of the tracheoles are filled with the fluid. So the adaptation of those trachea and tracheoles is to provide a large surface area for the gas exchange, and tracheoles will have there are only a single layer, this is only a single layer of the cells to provide a short diffusion pathway. Right, so what are the actually adaptations to reduce water loss in insects? Common stuff, so the small surface area to the volume ratio, okay, waterproofing coverings, so inhibits evaporation, and spiracles that they can open or close. It depends on the level of water. Okay, so those features mean that insects cannot use the body surface to diffuse respiratory gases in the way a single-celled organisms can do. But instead, they have an internal network of tubes called trachea, and they carry carry oxygen directly to the tissues. So, anatomy of the insect. What do we have here? So what we've mentioned on the outer layer, we've got the segment of the insects will have spiracles. Tracheal tubes are connected to those spiracles, and they branch into many smaller tracheoles. Okay. So what are actually those spiracles? As you can see now on the outside of the insect, that's the microscopic view of the spiracles. There are tiny holes in the exoskeleton, so the body surface of this insect. They can open and close. So if they open, they allow the air to move in and out. If they close, that means that they will prevent the water loss by evaporation. Trachea then, so the main tube, okay, so run from the body surface into tissues. As you can see on the picture, it's supported by the rings, so it prevents them from collapsing, and it's divided into smaller units, tracheoles. Right, finally the tracheoles, so the extensions that we've said, they provide a large surface area, and they are made of single layer of the cells to minimize the diffusion distance. So adaptation is a short diffusion pathway. Right, so a really good table here for you guys. So you've got adaptations of an insect tracheal system for the gas exchange. So the same, so what approach that comes along here? So tracheoles have thin walls, so short diffusion pathway, highly branch or large number of tracheoles, so short diffusion distance to cells, highly branch, large number of tracheoles, so large surface area. Trachea provide tubes full of air, so it's a fast diffusion pathway. Fluid in the end of the tracheoles that moves out into the tissues when the insect it's in high activity, when they exercise, so it's a faster diffusion through the air to the gas exchange surface. And finally, body can be moved by muscles to move air, so that will maintain the diffusion gradient. Okay, suppose on that table, make sure you make a note of it, it's really important. So how does the gas exchange then take place? Well, all those parts that we just explained, described, they will be involved in the gas exchange. Okay, so trachea, the air will move into the trachea through spiracles. Oxygen then will travel down the concentration gradient towards the cells. Trachea will branch off into smaller tracheoles, so the oxygen can diffuse directly into the respiring cells. Carbon dioxide from those cells after respiration will move down its concentration gradient, so this time towards the spiracles, and will be released. And we need to remember that insects use rhythmic abdominal movements to move in and out of the spiracles. Right? So how gases can actually move in and out of tracheal system? There are three ways: along diffusion gradient, mass transport, and at the ends of the tracheoles are filled with water. So along diffusion gradient, quite logical. So oxygen concentration towards the ends of tracheoles falls here due to respiration in the cells. So oxygen will then diffuse from the atmosphere through the spiracles along trachea, tracheoles to the respiring cells. What is then carbon dioxide? Of course, it's a product of respiration, so that will create the diffusion gradient in opposite direction, so higher concentration of carbon dioxide in the cells, lower outside. So what will happen? The carbon dioxide will diffuse in that manner, okay, along the tracheoles, trachea, through the spiracles, out. Okay, so this is along diffusion gradient. Mass transport then. So we look at the structure of the insect and the mass movement of the air. It's enabled by contractions of muscles, so that by the movement of the abdomen and the exchange of respiratory gases then will speed up. Finally, the ends of the tracheoles, so we're looking here, are filled with water. Water here is really important. So every time we see water, you're thinking osmosis, okay? You're thinking water potential. So what happens if this insect is in a really high level of activity? It's really likely that there will be some anaerobic respiration taking place. So you know the product of anaerobic respiration will be then lactic acid. So this is soluble and will lower the water potential in the muscle cell, in the respiring cell. So why do we have then water at the ends? Well, we have water, so the water can move through osmosis from the ends to the respiring cells to deal with this low water potential. Okay, so the final diffusion pathway is actually in the gas rather than in the liquid. Okay, so you must remember that, and this increases the rate at which air is moved in the tracheoles, but leads to higher water evaporation. Right? Finally, what are the limitations then? So tracheal system will rely on diffusion of gases between the environment, okay, and the cells. Effective diffusion needs, of course, a short diffusion pathway, so this is why the insects cannot be bigger than they are, and the length of diffusion pathway limits the size of the insect, of course. Right, water management, how the water can be stored. So of course we mentioned the air can move in and out through the spiracles, but every time the spiracles open, they will lose water as well, so water will evaporate. So how can we maintain the water loss? It's by closing spiracles, so we will then reduce the water loss through evaporation. Okay, and also another adaptation for this, it's the fact that insects got the waterproof waxy cuticle over the body with tiny hairs around those spiracles, so that will reduce the evaporation, and also the fact that they've got small surface area to the volume ratio will reduce the evaporation as well. Right, effect of temperature, so quite typical question. Effect of temperature on the rate of carbon dioxide. Of course, carbon dioxide is a product of respiration. Enzymes are involved in respiration. So higher temperature